Welcome back to the news at 10. The governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, is disappointed that INEC has not presented him with a certificate of return and what he calls harassment by the EFCC. He was speaking when President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, visited the state to inaugurate some projects. He also refuted the impression that his government had done nothing in its 8 years of governance, saying there are over 1,000 projects embarked upon by his administration.
Barely 1 week after commissioning a number of projects in Imo State, the Vice President is back to Owerri, the state capital. This time, however, he's representing his boss, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the mission is the same, to commission some signature projects initiated by the Okorocha-led administration in Imo State. The first port of call is the cargo section of the Sam Mbakwe Airport for commissioning.
For the benefit of the people of Imo State and for the benefit of all Nigerians and to the glory of God.
Some of the other projects commissioned include the Imo State Police Command Headquarters, Roches Foundation Road, and the 1,000-bed free mother and child hospital.
To the glory of God.
For the governor, his achievements in Imo in the last 8 years stand tall. He, however, reiterated that with all his achievements in the state under the ruling APC, he doesn't deserve the unwarranted attacks by the EFCC and the illegal withholding of his certificate of return as the senator-elect for Imo West Senatorial District by INEC.
Since I became governor, I never had 1 minute of my rest in my life. I've worked for this country with passion. But even I'm doing my part in the APC pride. But what I get at the end of it all, from the seizure of my certificate, the harassment of PSC, does not give me joy.
While enumerating some projects executed by the Okorocha-led administration, some of his aides call for continuity in the interest of the state.
Government is a continuum, and I want to believe that any government that is coming into power will have the interest of the people at heart. These structures are good edifices, to be utilized, to be used for the benefit of the people.
With just a few days to the end of Governor Okorocha's 8 years tenure, he says he has served the state with vigor and commitment and hopes to round up his tenure with a grand Thanksgiving scheduled for Sunday, 26th of May, 2019. Eyitope Kuteyi, Channels Television News.
Let's take a look at business news. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Ijama, and you're welcome to Business News. The House of Representatives has indicted 15 banks for under-remittance of stamp duties collected worth over 1.5 billion naira. This decision is one of the recommendations adopted by the House following the consideration of the report by an ad hoc committee which investigated the alleged non-remittance of stamp duties worth trillions of naira into the Federation account. Speaking during plenary, the chairman of the ad hoc committee recommends that all 15 financial institutions be penalized and made to pay the amount under-remitted from 2016 till date with interests.
When you go through our recommendations, you will see that the bulk of the money has not been touched, and we are limited by our terms of reference based on the motion. There are other forms of stamp duties that maybe 100 times what we went. So when we go through it, we will see. But suffice to say that about 35 billion is there lying in central bank, but has not yet been remitted into the consolidated revenue account. So the nation or the executive have no access to that money. Yet, when we scrutinize the banks, we have given them in tabular form in our recommendation what to be done to them and the amount of money that is still hanging in the commercial banks. The annexure is the submissions banks by banks and money organizations.
Nigeria's broadband penetration now stands at 33.7%, an improvement over the 8.5% recorded as at 2015. With some provisions for point of access at subnational governments underway, the Executive Vice Chairman of NCC, Professor Umar Dambata, headlined the objective of the project as a provisioning of data services to the rural settlers.
The penetration now, as we're talking, is 33.7% for April. I just saw the figures before I arrived in Lagos. Now, let us look at other statistics. The mobile voice penetration in relative terms, or in real terms, is, as we are speaking now, 173 million. That is the penetration. In percentage terms, I'm using a baseline of 190 million population, which is the figure projected by the National Population Commission, as well as the figure that is used by the International Telecommunications Union. We have mobile voice penetration of 93%. The NCC was using a population figure of 140 million, which is not realistic now. If you use that population figure, the penetration will be in the region of 124%.
And outside the country, South Africa's Reserve Bank has kept its key interest rate unchanged, as widely expected by analysts, with the repo rate remaining at 6.75%. The country's central bank governor, Lesetja Keke-Nyango, who made the announcement today after a three-day meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, says he expects the country's economy to grow by 1% this year. The Reserve Bank's MPC kept rates on hold at its two last meetings in January and late March this year, and last raised the repo rate in November 2018 from 6.5 to 6.75%. Back here in Nigeria, the rally still continues at the domestic stock market, in addition to rebounds from four major sectors of the NSE. And this is despite persistent sell pressure from three Tier 1 lenders. Layo Adegoke tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's now 1 week since the NSE began its rally following the listing of MTN Nigeria on the exchange, and the market's main index closed Thursday's session higher by 1.07%. Similarly, total value of listed equities rose by 147 billion naira to close the day higher at 13.864 trillion naira. Today's trading also saw rebounds from all the major sectors except the banking counter, which dropped 0.20% on profit-taking in three Tier 1 lenders, UBA, Zenith Bank and Access Bank. Small-cap insurer Sovereign Trust has the highest volume of 280.76 million units, traded from a total of 559.76 million equities in 6,042 transactions, following reports of new investor move in the listed company. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Many thanks, Layo. On the global scene, major stock markets ended Thursday's session sharply lower on concerns by investors that the trade war between the United States and China is affecting global economic growth. Here are some of the closing figures for the day. Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I am Kayode Okikiolu. The news at 10 continues with Ijeoma.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Kayode. The U.S. Justice Department has filed 17 new charges against WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange, who faces extradition from the UK. The latest charges accuse him of receiving and unlawfully publishing the names of classified sources. Now let's wrap up international news now, and here's Juliana Olainka with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has secured a second term in office, claiming a landslide victory in the general election. While counting was still underway, he tweeted, "Together we grow, together we prosper, together we will build a strong and inclusive India."
Modi! Modi!
The decisive win reaffirms his popularity and gives him another 5 years to push ahead with his plans to develop the country. The election was staged over 6 weeks, and more than 600 million voters cast their ballots.
आज हम देख रहे हैं देश की कोटि-कोटि नागरिकों ने इस फकीर की झोली को भर दिया.
Frankly, today, it doesn't matter what I think went wrong. What matters is that the people of India have decided that Narendra Modi is going to be the Prime Minister. And as an Indian person, I fully respect that.
The UK government has delayed the debate and publication of the Brexit bill until the first week of June. It follows speculation that the Prime Minister could soon announce her resignation. Theresa May is under growing pressure to quit after yet another cabinet casualty. Andrea Leadsom stepped down as leader of the House of Commons, saying she can no longer support the Brexit policy.
I felt I couldn't, in all conscience, stand up and deliver the business statement today with a withdrawal agreement bill in it that I couldn't support elements of. So I have no doubts that I made the right decision, and of course it's for the Prime Minister to decide what's right for her and for the country.
The Brexit delay means the UK has had to take part in the European elections. Party leaders have been casting their votes across the country.
Let's get this right. We have voted to leave, and yet 3 years on, our government and Parliament have failed to deliver. They've broken all their promises, and that's why we're in these elections.
The results will be announced after all EU member states have finished voting on Sunday. Far-right parties are expected to increase their share of the European Parliament.
That's what we are seeing in the polls, that the far right, the extreme right, is indeed taking more seats, more votes, and that's not a good thing, neither for Europe nor for its citizens. But of course, when people get frustrated, they start behaving in a frustrated way, and one of the signs of that frustration is the vote for the extreme right.
Indonesian police say a group with links to Islamic State was responsible for the riots in Jakarta. Water cannon and rubber bullets were fired at protesters who tried to breach barricades during the second night of violence in the capital. The demonstrations started after the election results were announced on Tuesday, confirming Joko Widodo as winner of the presidential elections. At least 7 people were killed and 9 officers injured, but police say that figure could still rise. Extreme weather across Missouri and the U.S. Midwest has killed at least 4 people. Tornadoes have caused severe damage across the state, bringing heavy rain, hail, wind and lightning. Storms have also hit neighboring Oklahoma and Texas. Dozens of people had to be rescued from rising floodwaters. The former Nissan chairman, Carlos Ghosn, has appeared in court for the first of a series of pre-trial hearings. He's facing several counts of financial misconduct. He denies all charges against him. A date for his trial is yet to be set. The United Nations is demanding the UK give up control of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. In a non-binding vote, 116 states were in favour of the move and only 6 were against. 56 abstained. It's a major diplomatic blow for both the UK and the US, which have a joint military base on Diego Garcia. Mauritius says it was forced to give up the islands in 1965 in exchange for independence.
The forcible eviction of the inhabitants of the Chagos archipelago, which accompanied its unlawful accession from Mauritius, remains a very dark episode of human history, akin to a crime against humanity.
Oscar-winning actor Geoffrey Rush has been awarded a record defamation payout. A News Corp tabloid has been ordered to pay the star $2.8 million Australian dollars for past and future economic losses after it published articles accusing him of inappropriate behaviour. It's the largest defamation payout in the country's history. And finally, Uber's pushing the boat out with plans to expand its transport service to include trips to the bottom of the sea. In conjunction with the Australian state of Queensland, the company is launching the appropriately named Scuba, the world's first ride shares submarine on the Great Barrier Reef. Pricier than your average trip, the experience, which will run from the 27th of May to the 18th of June, will cost customers over $1,000 a ride. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks a lot, Juliana. What a trip indeed. Still ahead on the news at 10, quarter-finalists emerge at Season 11 of Channel's International Kids Cup after 3 days of action. That's on sports. Please stay with us.